Jeff from Shoal join us shortly. Welcome everyone to the February 2nd meeting of the Barrington Planning Board. As chair of the Barrington Planning Board, due to the COVID-19. Oh, Marcia, did you start the recording? Sorry.
Oh, good Lord, yes. Hold on. Thank goodness you're.
I know I jumped right in and just started reading. So.
Yeah, hold on.
Marcia, I already got it.
You got it. I'm like looking down the list. You got it for me? Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the February 2nd meeting of the Barrington Planning Board. As chair of the Barrington Planning Board, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are utilizing Microsoft Teams for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Microsoft Teams, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing 603-664-0240 and the conference ID for the Teams meeting. We'll do a roll call vote for attendance. My name is James Jennison. Jeff Brand, are you with us yet?
I am.
Steve Diamond.
I am, and Jeff, you sound very strong there.
Which means Jamie
Donna
still won't be able to
Masucci.
hear me.
I can always hear you. Donna Masucci.
Here.
Andy Knapp.
Present.
Ron Allard.
Alan present.
We have a full board in attendance as well. We have the town planner, Marcia Gassis, and land use administrative assistant, Barbara Irvine. We'll move the minutes to the end so we can get into business. First on the agenda is Mr. Todd Green, Barrington Shores LLC, and I believe Ray is here for that.
Yes, thank you, board, especially with the conditions today. So basically, just to give you a quick update, we have the engineering plans have been updated and everything's been done, and it was submitted to Du Bois and King last week. Marcia, is that all set on the Du Bois and King?
I haven't heard from them. So you sent everything into them? I can check with them.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that they received everything. So basically now we're waiting for their comments back. Then the engineer, Tobin, will make any adjustments if necessary. And then we need to go and prepare the packet to resubmit to you guys. So we're basically asking for a continuance, so we can have those changes done.
Very good. Does the board have any questions before a motion for continuance?
Ray, I understand you're also working on that report about the water supply?
Actually, we do have the report. It did come in, but that's something that I was going to let Greg Worth handle. And that will be submitted at the same time as the whole packet. So we're going to give you guys, so we're just trying to make it a little bit easier, and instead of doing piecemeal, just get everything in place.
At a future meeting.
Yes.
All right, anyone else?
I'm just not sure what to expect from a turnaround time from Du Bois and King, so I don't know what we want to do for the continuance.
They have been doing pretty good. This is your first submittal to them, right?
Correct.
So they review it and then they'll review it a second time. The only thing did you mail those as opposed to drop them off? Because boy, the mail's not been very dependable lately. Time-wise.
It was done by Tobin. I would assume he probably mailed them.
Okay. I would add a little extra time if they were mailed. That only from what I've been hearing. It takes some time. Okay, I will check with them though tomorrow to see.
Masha,
Yeah,
we also need them to sign an agreement for payment.
yes. Yes, thank you, Barbara. Yes. Well, that one usually Du Bois and King will send that to us with the estimate before they start
Right.
working on. Okay.
So with all that being said, I'm sure it's going to be a couple weeks before they get everything in place to even work on it.
So Scott, we, as I understand it, you asked for a continuance to March 2nd. Are you saying that may not be enough time?
Correct. Because you
So-
guys would like the plans at least a week ahead of time.
Right. Well,
And if
that's actually in the regulations that we get it 7 days ahead of time. So.
Right. And then, so if we get the stuff back, it takes Tobin, say, a week to make any changes. And so I'm just going to, I mean, we can go with the March date and then ask for a continuance if necessary.
Well,
I'm fine with that. Go ahead, Jeff, sorry.
I was just going to ask what Scott thought was realistic.
Yeah, I don't think he has a good estimate at this.
Well, I'm not sure who was asking.
Not
for
knowing if Du Bois and King, if Du Bois and King has it, it's hard to say. So, I mean, we haven't been that busy, so I would say shoot for the 2nd, and if you got to continue, you can get on as soon as possible. If we don't have it in time, knowing that we would like some more time to review it, would be the only consideration that might come up. Hate to get your hopes up that you come to a meeting. If there hasn't been enough time to review, we may force to continue. As I guess from Jeff's perspective would be, so I don't know if you want to go for the 16th meeting and just give it that 2-week buffer.
I would probably prefer to do that, or even do the first one in April. That way we can get everything in place in time.
Well, it's not just us. You also have to plan. You got to plan on attending the meeting and get everything prepped for the meeting. And so, we could do the 2nd and then continue it again, but it just, I don't know, everybody just kind of gets turned upside down,
Right.
Multiple times.
And that's why I'd rather go either the 2nd week or go to the first one in April.
Well, why don't we go to the first one in April, and you'll know for sure that you'll be ready. Because they'll go through it probably
All right.
a couple of times.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay.
Does any of the board have any more questions?
If not, I will make a motion to continue application 121-28-GR-20-SR to the 6th April 2021 meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Jeff Brand, seconded by Andy Knapp. Donna Masucci,
Aye.
Ron Allard,
Allard, aye.
Steve Diamond,
Diamond die.
James Jennison, I, Jeff Brand,
Fran, aye.
Andy Knapp.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll see you April 6th.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
You as well. Next up, number 3, we have review for request of building permit at Longshore Drive for Amy Morrill and Thomas and Cheryl Rowe. Mark Morrow's made some notes that make sense. Do we have any other comments?
From what I can tell. Oh, do you want to go first, Jeff? Go for it.
I was just going to say, it seems like the road agent's comments were pretty thorough, so I didn't have any additional questions.
I was glad he had so much to say. It does seem like a rather complicated site. The map in the application with the topo, when I zoomed in, I couldn't get much. It was very pixelated, but it seems that major structures, I don't know if it's the actual building or if it's a septic system or what, but it's going to be a pretty steep grade without any terracing is what they're anticipating, which both from the road agent's statements and my understanding of what best practices might be, that terracing or some kind of retaining wall would be a better thing to do there, especially if there's water drainage concerns as well.
Yeah, and I think advice, but I don't believe that's, code issues and not planning board stuff. As far as site construction application.
Can someone at least tell
Right.
me what percentage grade that is? I don't have enough detail to understand what it's saying it is.
I don't know, and I guess it on a single family house lot, I don't know as though we regulate grade, so I didn't give much thought to what they're going to need to do to make it livable.
Because it's not
but-
just what's livable for them, but it's what, if the ground shifts, it could block the road or otherwise cause problems for not just them.
Yeah, I can't make out anything on that map.
Well, it seems to me, one of the more important comments, which is included here, is about having a minimum of 5-foot wide buffer along both sidelines to keep the runoff from the adjacent properties. So is that a matter of code? Is that something that the code enforcement officer addresses?
Not to my understanding. This is, the select board's going to issue this permit, and Mark's made his recommendations regarding it in the road.
Can I don't know the answer to this question. Andy, you're present. So if they grant this permit, can the select board say we grant this with conditions like with this 5-foot buffer?
I believe if my understanding of it is correct and the way we've done it is, yes, we can say, hey, we need these items to make sure that we're protecting it. I think the other part, when I look at the 5-foot buffer, is to make sure that we're not, one of the requirements is you can't send your water and other runoff into your neighbor's property. So that 5-foot buffer helps prevent that from happening.
Right. Well, maybe the stipulation isn't the width, but the fact is that, the permit is granted with the condition that, steps are taken to have a buffer and or in some other way prevent runoff on adjacent properties.
Right. I believe John enforces that aspect of it from a code end too, when he's out there looking at the site work, because part of that is that you have to maintain the water that is on your property, and you can't just kick it over to an adjacent person's property.
And same with runoff into the lake. I mean, if there's if the thing happens, I mean, you're responsible, to prevent that from happening, and should be monitored by whoever's doing the construction and John. I don't know what the side setbacks are for disturbance. I don't know as though there's any. You can not build obviously within those, but I don't know about it's more of a setback off the water as far as taking down trees and stuff like that. But
well, I was just thinking that, so if the select board approves it with the condition that steps are taken to prevent the runoff to the adjacent properties, then that just gives John Huckins, more force to, or, you know, more support to enforce the that requirement. You know, he can point to that and say, hey, listen, you've got to take some steps, and then that and he can enforce that because it's a condition of the building permit.
So I would just make sure that we send that back as a condition with the select board, that we're requesting to make sure that the builder or the homeowner ensures that they maintain any water or potential water discharge to their property. Retain it on their property.
So we could add that. So in the paragraph that says it's urged to keep a 5-foot minimum, 5 foot, we could add right onto the end of that what you just said. We could say, you know, we asked that the select board, you know, stipulate,
Reiterate to the applicant.
As a condition of this application, ensure that the homeowner / builder retains any runoff, or ensures runoff does not, we do not have runoff that impacts abutting or adjacent neighbors.
right.
Or the water.
Well, I mean, that's a given under state regs, right?
Right, they can't
Right.
disturb within 75 feet, I think it is, heading down toward the river, or 75 or 100.
I'm gonna say, it all depends if that's what considered a great body or just a.
Right, and
I don't
according
know
to
how many
their,
acres that on is, but
and according to their plan, they're showing 175 feet from the structure down to the river, or the wetlands, I think is how they
Yeah.
delineate it.
So I'm
Right.
okay with this letter if we add that sentence in the one paragraph there.
me as well.
Yep.
So is this currently just a
Anyone
woodlot, or
else?
what was here before? Was this undeveloped entirely?
I believe it was just a 1 acre lot.
Yeah, appears to be a 1 acre building with a modular home going on it.
So just my usual comment that this is more people living on a road that's not going to be fundamentally improved. As far as it'd be a good idea to have some sort of process in place whereby the road would be fundamentally improved if more families are living on it.
We do, it's the private road association. You're promoting them to join it, and they have a reasonable fee structure that they've done, and they've done significant improvements to that road over the last several years.
Considerable
Right.
from where it was, which is good.
I remember where it was 5 years ago when I first moved to this town, and I drove those roads, and I was like, whoo, they have gotten a lot better.
Yep.
I'm
All
sure
right.
I got my fillings out the first time I went down that road.
Try back in the 90s. Oh, I was terrified. That was a surprise.
All right, motion to send that letter as modified to the select board.
I second.
Andy Knapp,
I to send it to myself.
yes. Ron Allard,
I just sent it to Andy.
Ray's very quiet today, his voice.
I think Jamie's locked up, at least for me.
fuck me.
Oh, there he is. There he
Oh, we got that.
is. We heard that.
All right,
Yeah, loud and clear, Jamie.
did you hear me?
Yeah, you and Melania Trump.
All right.
Do you hate Christmas too? I mean,
I love Christmas.
Oh, okay.
I love getting presents. Sorry about that. So I had Andy, Ron,
Allard, aye.
Donna Mizucci,
Suchi, aye.
Jeff Brand,
Fran, aye.
Did you say me? Time and die.
oh, there we go. I'm guessing that's me. Jeff Brand. My wife made me go down the basement.
Yeah, Bran, aye for the second time.
Did I get an answer from you? I apologize.
That does not mean you get 2
All
votes.
right, thank you, Steve Diamond. All I see is Jeff and Andy's face.
Steve, I think he's asking for your vote again.
Time and
Yes,
die. You didn't hear
please.
Jeff. You didn't hear Jeff.
Bran, aye.
Thank you. Yes, I got Jeff, I got Steve, I got Don, I got Andy, I got Ron, myself, I. Motion carried.
Poor Jamie, he's gonna have to come to the
All right,
office.
and then,
Yeah,
I know. Well, it's my wife stuck me in the basement and I think I got, I got bad signal, so I'm trying to move upstairs.
well, we can understand her sticking you in the basement, but that's not helping the meeting any.
He's frozen again.
Yeah. Hey,
So-
did anybody else get an update to
No.
Microsoft
Dan,
Teams?
you want to talk about cozies?
Yes.
Hear me now?
While Jamie's moving, yes, I've been told there should be an update to Teams, and I have almost a month to do it. I haven't done it yet.
Well, I got a message
Yeah.
that said mine has been updated and now I can't open it. So I have to do it. I did it just online without downloading it. I got to figure out what's wrong with it. It won't open.
Fully uninstall and start again, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Jeff, I always go in without Teams.
All right, can everybody?
Better for me.
All right, am I good now?
No, you're not good, but we can see you.
All right.
There you are.
Yeah, all right, moving on to Dan. Cozy's Pizza.
Yes. I'd like to, did everyone get a picture of the drawing I made?
Yeah, hold on, let me try and get it up there for you, okay? You ready to, which one do you want? The sketch you did?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see. All right, let me follow my directions. Share document. All right. Okay, you guys see it?
Yes.
Any way you can,
Most of it.
Hold
Any
on,
way
let
you-
me see it. Move it to the biggest screen.
can you
There.
There
rotate
you
it?
go.
It'll,
There it is.
okay.
All right.
So this is, if you look at as presented, above is a existing walkway, the steps that go out back. And then there's existing fence in the right-hand corner. And the grade slopes off. So I propose to put a service shed for the patrons, and then a deck, because the ground slopes there. So all the utilities are right here in the this area for both buildings. And I want to, there's to be no digging at all. And not change any of the landscaping. Except for put bark bumps there and the grades where water and stuff run off. So they have 8 tables now. The seat 4. And I just told them you should ask, you should put everything on the plan, maybe later on. They might want to put a couple of 2-seaters there if someone wants to sit by themselves. And then the pine, rough sawn pine, and the fence will be rough sawn pine. Same with Jersey barriers in the front with a 5-foot rough sawn pine, 6-foot height to stop motor vehicles from coming in. And then it gives a little bit of privacy too in that area. And
Is this behind Cozy's, Dan?
you know, it's on the right side of it between Cozy's and Stonehouse Bakeries.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So last year, years ago, there was a makeshift out there. It was not permitted. Then when the governor issued the permits last year, I took some 2x2x6 concrete blocks and put it on the parking lot to stop motor vehicles. And they put some tables and got approved from the code enforcement and the fire chief on the governor's order for outside dining. But they would like to continue this, and they are financially strapped on this with this COVID going on. So I would ask for a waiver for the, so this tends to be attached to the plaque on the site plan, that a cleaner drawing could maybe be added better than this. So code enforcement and the planning board can see what was presented and what is in place. And the owner's willing to pay for notifying all the butters, the application fees, but the cost, put this on the site plan, when Cozy's is not the owner either. There's another individual who's given permission for him to do this, to the landscaping. So that only waiver I would ask for is to waive it being attached to the plat. I just want to see how the board feels, or if they had any questions about this layout.
So it'd be more of a, it would be considered more of a temporary use.
It's going to be seasonal, and everything's going to be movable. I'm not doing no digging at all. Everything will be on surface. So I'm not making any changes to the site, except for the use.
Right. I mean, under the current climate and circumstances, I mean, I'm certainly in favor of it, in my opinion, just because governor's order for outside dining and the need for social distancing and et cetera. My two concerns hearing about it were having Jersey barriers, which you've got, privacy, and then the only other thing is proposed hours of usage at night, really, just because I believe there's one dwelling there next door above the bakery. Is that a residential spot rental?
Actually, I can speak on that. There's multiple units above the bakery, and there's multiple units above Cozy's. And this walkway right here goes to our apartment. So their hours of operation right now during the COVID is 8 o'clock. But out here, they would keep the same hours. But I said, well, just tell them 9 o'clock because the noise ordinance is 7 to 9. So you shut down at 8 o'clock, you're cleaning up and stuff for the next day, you're going to go to 8:30. So you just say 9 o'clock.
All right. Yeah. To me, that seems reasonable. You know, I just didn't want a last call situation out there on Saturday nights if there's tenants, you know, but with the notification part, hearing what those property owners feel for their tenants, you know, could change my mind on that as well. So that's something I'm open to, but I'd like to hear from the rest of the board as well on their opinions.
Well, I had a couple of questions. I mean, kind of standard things though, is one, with this, is there going to be sufficient parking with this increased clientele there? I mean, does it meet the regs? I mean, that is a fairly large area, but you're sharing it with several businesses. So I would think we need to demonstrate that there's sufficient parking to support this. The second question, and this came up at Milo's, so with this increased number of customers, how does that fare as far as the water usage and whether the sewage system for that building can accommodate that? Because there's going to be increased usage by the kitchen of water, but also if you're going to have sit-down dining, you're going to have to provide some kind of restroom facilities for these people.
Well, due to the social distances, the number is cut in half. So it would balance out. He would not be expanding his number of people. And it's going to be seasonal. So if it's a nice day out, people are going to be outside, not inside. Vice versa. If it's cold, they're going to be inside, not outside.
Well, yeah, I understand as far as, you know, the social distancing and stuff, but I'm just saying we have regulations that say, you know, that you just have to demonstrate that that you meet the parking requirements, and that with the increase.
The parking lot there's initial parking off to the left. There's plenty of parking on the left side and out back of the building. And then on this side for tenants and customers for Stonehouse.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you, Dan. I'm just saying,
right,
when you put in the application, you need to go through the calculations and show, yes, we got plenty of parking per the regulations. That's all I'm saying.
I know this is a discussion. I'm writing everything down what you're looking for. And
yeah, and that's why I was offering it up now. The other thing is there going to be any lighting out there if it's or not?
There's minimal lighting now. Maybe just one on the pole. It's not going to be spotlights because usually by 8 o'clock anyway, it's getting dark and stuff. So there's enough lighting in there to do the cleanup.
I have a question. Is this going to be a temporary thing during COVID, or is this going to be permanent?
We're looking to have this as permanent in the sense, you know, seasonal, but continuously. One of the tasks the select board gave was, you know, they approved the extension of not following the site regs in regards to the outdoor dining and whatnot, with the understanding people would come in and get their approvals, amend their site plans or whatever. In this case, you know, it's a limited what they're asking for. But I think your job here is to come up with exactly, you know, what Jeff was talking about in the sense, what do they need to do? And that's what Dan's asking. What do they need to do in order to have this limited amount of outdoor seating going forward? Having this part of the record that they can have so many picnic tables for, you know, such a period of time on an annual basis for outdoor.
Right, without going through a full site plan review.
Exactly, without having to, you know, put these folks through a full site plan approval.
This isn't unlike when they came to us with the farmers market behind Dante's, and we asked parking, we asked, you know, how you, you know, restroom facilities is the, you know, standard stuff if you're going to do that. The other thing we asked about lighting too. Are you going to install lighting? And if you are, then, you know, you need to tell us that.
To clarify, I have seating, waste, parking, and lighting. I have 4 things so far. Did I miss any of them?
I think just an updated calculation on water usage was something Jeff had mentioned.
Yeah. And waste. Waste and water are the same to me.
Yeah. And then maybe just note on your plans, trash locations for outdoor dining. So, you know, because I know with most of it's throwaway stuff. It's not washed plates, is it, over there? You know, so just knowing that there's some buckets there, you know, for people to throw stuff away so they're not wandering around looking where to put their stuff and it's not flying across the parking lot.
Not making a smorgasbord for critters to eat.
Don't quote me on this. I think staff is handling all the trash and stuff. They don't want people mingling during this COVID time. So they will clean up the trash and clean the tables every time during this COVID time. But
Right, so
we could put barrels for the future.
right, but even if the staff is running to that shed to throw the trash away, just noting that that's where they're throwing the trash, I guess, if they're serving, as opposed to running inside every time with a paper plate, that they're gonna use that serving shed as the trash and staging area, I guess, is my
Right.
interpretation.
It is.
And Marcia mentioned one thing earlier about alcohol sales. You'll have to go through the state for outside alcohol sales.
That's a
State
that's
thing.
regulated by a different bureau. I'm not involved with that.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, something to keep in mind. We found out when we went through the application for Milos to expand that George was actually had a meter on his water. So he was able, because he had actual records that showed he was actually using much less water than the default value the state requires you to use. And so maybe you want to check, and maybe Cozy's is also metering their water.
Right. I think that's it might be different over there. But there's all calculations for everything on site, the usage for everyone and the load.
And what George was able to show is, there's calculations that are done, and the state requires you to use certain default values. But George was able to show those default values were way higher than what his actual usage was. So
I'll check into that.
Yeah.
So is this gonna be seasonal and stuff? And the Jersey barriers have, you take a forklift, pick them right up, move them for access. And they probably be pushed back for snow, they'll be pushed back for more snow removal area when they're not being used, pile snow against.
The only other thing I can think of is I know the fire chief always has to sign off on these things, and I know even like with Milos, one of those things is capacity. But so I know he reviewed for the temporary for the COVID, so he would review as part of that too if you're add any seating to it.
Yeah, the other concern I have too is, the hours of access. I know that you're talking about the food service is going to stop at 8, but they have a bar now there, and I'm concerned about, people from the bar on a nice night going out and sitting out there or whatever.
No, all services are shut down 8 o'clock, even the bar. Limited hours there now, but this is outside, and they're aware of their tenant, their neighbors and stuff. Anything that happens out there is not going to be past 9 o'clock. But they're using 8 o'clock. But I said, well, let's say 9, because if someone's out there 8:30, 8:35 cleaning up, it's rounded off the nearest hours, and that is, our noise ordinance is 7 to 9. There won't be customers out there necessarily. They could be people there to staff cleaning up. That would all be done before 9 o'clock.
So you said
nothing. Go ahead,
clean up.
Marcia.
I'm sorry, clean up like up to between 7 and 9. I mean that's reasonable, but
Well,
yeah, just 9 and right. When they start clean.
No, they close at 8 o'clock right now.
Oh, but after we're planning for the future here.
Right.
Coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
They're gonna continue that. Even the food shuts down 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're saying they'll close service stops at 8, and you just want to allow time for them to be able to clean up the area. So you're saying 9.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And then just thinking about it, the only thing I would add is maybe put on your plan some no smoking signs so it doesn't turn into the after hours smoking area, because I know that the bar service stays open later, post COVID. And there's usually people hanging out front, enjoying a cigarette, and I'd hate, them sneaking over there to, start using that area after hours. So that would probably be the only thing, is to make sure they put some signage there so it doesn't invite it to be the smoking area.
So Dan, the most permanent items that you were talking about were the deck and shed. I wonder, can these be made a little bit less large and heavy, or can that infrastructure, whatever you're going to do on these locations, utilize the existing indoor infrastructure instead?
No, this is a limited area. Instead of changing the landscape, add and fill, that's why they're there. So we have a shield out back as a fence. We have a 6-foot existing fence. So the shed and then the fence is gonna add to that. And then the fence in the front. So only to the right is the only thing open. Let breeze through the 4-foot opening and out through there. So I'm utilizing that as a fence and to level off the area. But I'm not changing the grade.
So how much surface area of deck are you proposing, and what is it going to be used for? Just for walking on? You're talking about?
No, it'll be part of the service center. They can use it a level area to work on. Right now, if you stood over there, it's sloped. It's unusable. So why put some in a usable space, level land? That's why I put them over there. So then by doing that, I'm also making a barrier, a fence, adding to the existing fence.
I'm asking how much surface area is this deck?
It's 6 by 10, Steve, if you don't have the paper here. It's there's a serving section of shed that's 6 by 10, and then there's a 6 by 10 deck attached to it, so to level it off to access that serving area. So in my interpretation, someone will bring the food out from the kitchen to the serving area, then the server will grab it from that deck area and bring it to the table, I'm guessing.
Right, and you couldn't set up a table over there because of the grade.
Okay, and the sheds are for what purpose?
They have all the utensils and stuff like that, and sanitize an area and stuff. And then they can keep stuff in there. They could warm the they have a warmer for the food and stuff.
So does that need water and electricity? You said sanitizing and.
Yeah, that's going to be electricity is right there. You can run over that, run power for lighting for that. And then maybe a light over on a pole. That's the fence. So do you see over here these square drawings?
Yep.
So you have the walkway going down stairs. It's a good sized retaining wall there. And then it goes over, the fence goes over it. And then right here is the Jersey barriers with the rough sawn pine boards for a rustic rural look. And then just ballads or whatever they called, and rope to keep it all contained.
One thing that I wonder about this, so we're talking about the pandemic and we're talking about it being seasonal. I just hope we can be clear about if this is about the pandemic, that it will sunset at the end of that. If it's not, if it's just a seasonal thing, we should not even be talking about the pandemic and confusing the issue.
No, it's gonna be seasonal, but we need it for after the pandemic. And then right now, with the makeshift COVID-19, with the blocks I put there, Stonehouse Bakery, customers are using that area too. That's between, so it could be a multi-purpose on the property for both business owners.
So just to be clear, Steve, he's trying to do a preliminary understanding, because this is a permanent use of that space, and trying to find out exploratory what he needs to put without doing a full new site plan review, for the whole space, the whole area, just to add these extra outdoor seating. So yeah, the intention is permanent, a seasonal permanent use.
I wonder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one more thing, Marcia.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just to finish the thought. So I wonder if it can be more of a park kind of format where you have, say, a tall tree with some shrubs and picnic tables around it, so that it can be more of a park use that people can also eat at on occasion, not necessarily with the tables, that everyone can enjoy more openly.
Where the existing fence is, there's shrubs right there now, existing. And then over on the right of the deck, there is a little couple of shrubs on that area. And I am gonna put down pine, bark mulch, and then the wood fence natural look. So it'll be the rural look of Barrington, pine, rough sawn pine boards, the shed, the fence on the deck. So it'll be a natural earth tone colors.
Dan, what I'm getting at is it's the visual buffering has its merits. It also sort of seems to segregate this as the purpose is for Cozy's use for dining more than a publicly accessible space. That's at least the implication from that much screening.
Well, you can't really have it open to the public because it's private property. He rents from as a landlord, and then in any situation, as Jamie, you don't want people hanging out there smoking. You don't want people hanging out there having a nuisance. So that's why this defined and cleaner looking. I don't know if you saw what was there last year. It was pretty crude. I took 2x2 by 6 foot blocks and made a line 6 feet long to stop motor vehicles from driving into people sitting at a table. All they want to do is clean it up and put it on paper so you guys can see it, and the town, they have a record of it. So what's a lot, you have understanding. And that's why I added, this may never happen, the 2 seat tables. I said to put it on the plan, because he said going back and asking for more seating or whatever, just put it there, because that 2 foot seating, if you add to the 4 for 6 people, have a bigger party. Or yeah, there's just one person there having a coffee or eating his pizza by himself. He might not want to sit at a whole table by himself.
So this is shared space, not just Cozy's exactly, because there's a broader landlord?
No, the problem is Cozy rents the property and building. He pays rent. The landlord's allowing this use, allowing him to do it with his business, and I'll have that signed off. Cozy's gonna go in with you guys, and then I'm gonna get a letter say I'm gonna be an agent for Cozy's. So I'll have all the documentation of the chain of command.
Dan, is Stonehouse Bakery landlord, property owner, the same property owner or a different property owner?
They rent too.
From the same property owner?
Right.
Yeah, but if I understand, Dan, what you're saying is that this is primarily for Cozy's Pizza's use. They may at some future time have some agreement that Stonehouse Bakery, some of their patrons could also come over and eat their sandwiches over there. But this is for the use of the restaurants on the property. This is not open to the general public, which is no different if you go over to Epping and you go up there and look at the Beach Plum. They put tables out there along the sidewalk and on their deck, as did the pizza place next door. They put up a tent. That's for their use, not for the general public.
Right, because you have health concerns. Even with this culvert and stuff, even after the fact, if you get in the area, you need to keep it clean. So that's why he designated the area here, all cleaned and trash, rodents, whatever too. And then this pandemic virus, you don't want stuff spreading.
Right, and there's liability issues as far as Cozy. I mean, if he opens that up to anybody, that's opening up liability problems for his company. Even though he's renting, there's always that that rider that a business has along with their the owner of the property. So I would definitely say it should be just Cozy's. I would think so.
All I was getting at there is perhaps the other residents of the site would consider it more of an asset for themselves if they had access to more reasonable usage of it. But those are valid concerns.
They can, but the problem is if people on this premise want to use it, they got to clean it.
They just gotta go buy a soda first.
And
So,
it's a business decision. It's not, it's not anything the board
Right.
decides. That's, personal
Right.
property.
Yeah, I was more getting at the property line issue between Stonehouse and Cozy's, but it's the same landlord, so that's his problem to deal with. The dispute between the two restaurants, not necessarily ours.
And they-
Where we should tell you to, pardon me, Marcia?
They serve different, the breakfast versus, pizzas. So
Right.
they actually serve different
Yeah.
segments.
No, I'd love to see them
Yeah.
both utilize the space. I was talking more about where that fence goes between the two of them. If there was a boundary dispute, who's gonna fight over it? But where it's the same landlord, he has all the say and the businesses
But
really have
actually-
less say.
if you look at this area that I mapped out, you can over double the size the distance between two buildings. Even if they, Stonehouse want to come in, there's enough area for them to do the same thing. They can do it totally separate if they wanted to.
Yep.
But this is the only one right now. We're just trying to, there's still signs of bark mulch, stone and fenced in area where tables were years ago, under previous owners of the, pizza. And now, since the governor's order, we did a temporary last year, but we just want to show you something that's cleaner looking and better looking, and then it meets all the safety concerns. So when I come back to you, if I take care of the seating, the waste and the water, parking, lighting, trash, the alcohol is a state matter, and I'll look into a meter for the water, and I'll consult with the fire chief, and then and designate this is a no non-smoking area.
Jen,
I-
this is
I-
Ron
to-
Howard.
to me-
I would suggest you recommend to them also, they consider, limiting the access, authorized cozy customers only or whatever, just for their liability. I think it's not an issue for us, but it might be for them.
Well, this will be fully staffed. This will be fully staffed out here. That's why you have a thing. Employee could be sitting in there and have everything he needs for cleanup, everything right on staff, so they don't need to go back and forth. And they'll have a runner back and forth. But there will be someone in here watching what goes on.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think it's the way of the future. I think people are gonna be hesitant to cozy up in the future. I think we got 5, 6, 10 years ahead of us of people not wanting to hug and share straws and plates, unfortunately. But so I think this is something we're gonna all get used to, and I think people enjoy it. I mean, you look at when Frank Jones had outdoors, people loved it. Dante's outdoors, so I think it's just better for the business, and to me, it seems like a good deal.
And then the only thing I would ask is the waive. I'm just guessing. If I had to put this on a plaque, it'd probably be $200 to $2,500. And for me to get someone right now, everyone seems to be busy and stuff, and I don't know who would want to do it. And then I have no problem doing a cleaner drawing with all and stuff, and we keep it on file attached to the plaque. So they won't.
Yeah,
claim
Marshall.
both of us.
Yeah, Marsha, what's your feeling on that as far as not like, I don't know, technically certifying it, but just having it in the file?
Yeah, I think it could do with all the details. I mean, he may, and I don't know if you have the capability. I think there's some programs or whatever. I mean, there's ways of getting, I think, printing it out in a way that showing things that is a little, I don't know.
No, I
Or-
have friends who are architects. I have
You don't
friends
have
who
to
are
be an
architects.
architect, but I think there are some, I don't know if you have to go so far as a program, but some people you can draw things up digitally, that just are a little bit more polished. I don't know. But we can
No,
work on it, Dan.
I can probably find some programs like that, someone who has it, but
And I'm listening.
I just don't.
I guess
Even
personally-
an old-fashioned ruler, for some of them, just to.
I mean, to me, as long as all the information's there, the professionalism behind it is not as important. I guess my question was more as far as Dan keeps bringing up certifying the plat or amending that site review. Is there a process that we're not doing that we should, or adding it to the file as a conditional use, or are we good doing
You
that
agree-
the way he's suggesting, that we're not violating anything and there's no problems down the road?
Well, you basically would waive providing a certified site plan and the requirements thereof, and substitute it with your own requirements that satisfy your need. Kind of like when Donna did the farmer's market kind of idea, which I think, you know, Dan's been pretty concise in what he's talking about. And I think, I believe you guys could do it reasonably for what this is.
Okay, and that's what I just wanted to be clear about, so the board knows, and we can give Dan a good idea of if we're willing to grant that before we walk away tonight, that you're willing to do that type of sidestepping the bigger site plan certification thing, so he knows going forward.
And this
Yeah,
to
where
clarify with the board, all this is temporary. Everything can be moved out in a half a day, cleaned up, and it'd be right back to natural thing. The Jersey barriers, the picnic tables, the shed.
Right.
deck.
Temporary as far as structures, but not use. They want to keep it as a permanent seasonal use, but they're temporary structures that could be removed if they ever needed to be in the future.
Right.
And I'm
And
not
there's no
altering the
change.
site at all for drainage.
Right.
That's,
Yeah, I don't see this to be much different. Like I said, out behind Dante's, you know, what Donna was doing. I mean, this is along the same scope. We didn't require that for those.
Andy, your feelings?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it doesn't seem anything wild or out of the ordinary. And if it's cleaned up, I don't have any issue with it.
Steve?
That makes some sense. I'm not totally clear. There was talk of electricity being supplied. I didn't get the answer on water. Would that be a garden hose, or would that be like a permanent installation under the ground? I was wondering. And I was also wondering, would this be wheelchair accessible?
Yes. On the wheelchair, because you can walk through there and stuff. And you can meet all the conditions of that. With the 4-foot opening, that means 80.
Yeah, so, yeah, the only thing you'd have to worry about really is grade, you know, at least getting, you know, if that beginning grade was shallow enough that you could get to a couple of tables, at least you have a couple seats that are, you know, meet that requirement for grade. And then if you could make on your future notes, just identify water and power. Like Steve keeps bringing up, you know, if you're bringing in a hose with the water cleaner, if it's going to be used for drinking and refilling cups, or if it's just going to be, you know, for washing your hands, but disposal of water, and if you're going to have water out there for those uses.
Garden hoses are treated with things that people are not supposed to be drinking from. So that's
No,
not.
so basically, that'll be on the plan.
Yeah, I mean, you can do an over the land water
No,
pipe
it's gonna,
if you
it'll
would,
be all,
if you needed to for seasonal use, but
no,
most
I,
places
and then-
don't have most deck areas, even in the permanent ones, they don't have, if you're gonna have water, they bring it out in a cup. You know,
Yep.
it's not, they're not gonna provide water, certainly not through a hose, but I think we're maybe complicating it a little bit more than it actually in reality is.
I agree.
all right.
Well, I'm trying to determine what
Ron?
it actually is. That's the question. Like, how is it? If there's
Not
going to be
for
a
sitting
permanent
area.
install of
Well-
water,
Well, let me ask this. You've already done this, right? So was there water out there?
no,
All
but,
right.
there was a supply, and you need to clean, there's gonna be water out there, to clean up the tables. And stuff, any way you look at it.
Yeah, but
There's
that's
water on the building already.
right. So
Okay.
that's a hose to wash things down. That's not running water lines out there, so you have drinking water.
Yeah, so there's nothing. They have to meet, they have to meet with the health inspector. There, but basically it's all plastic throwaway stuff and then clean up and then the areas. During this
All right.
COVID-19, they have a very good checklist right now. But in the future, you still gonna want to clean pollen off it.
Yeah, but spray bottles and bus buckets with water in it would be sufficient.
So Donna, your feeling on the, as far as minimal site plan?
I think it's a great idea. I would accept it once he cleaned it up. I mean, I think Barrington needs to work with these people to keep us in business.
Thank you. Ron, your feelings?
Yeah, I'm same way. I think I'm okay with not going the full formal process.
All right. Think you got everything you need, Dan?
Yeah, I got everything down and then I'll have it all presented to you when I come back. So I'm gonna ask us for the waiver for the site plan on the site plan. He's willing to pay all the fees, all butters will be notified. So we're not waiving any of that, so, but it'll be a cleaner version of this drawing.
Sounds good.
Good job, Dan.
Thank you.
All right. See you in the future. Do you want to schedule? You just schedule with Marcia later, right? We don't have to reschedule anything or vote anything, right?
No, nothing to vote on. It's just comments, and he'll have to come in with an application. We'll go through Barbara, and he has, the abutters and all that. And I think Dan knows what it is, but okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you all for your time
Thank
and your volunteering.
Thank you.
Good luck, Dan.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
We'll move on to minutes for January 19th. Does anybody have any corrections, comments? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for January 19th as written.
I second.
Motion by James Jennison, second by Jeff Brand, Steve Diamond,
Diamond Eye?
Donna Masucci,
Masucci, aye.
Ron Allard.
I was at the meeting, so I'll recuse myself on this one.
Thank you. Andy Knapp was not here as well.
All right.
Brand,
Brian, I.
Jennison, aye. Minutes are approved as written. Do we have anything else?
No, I think we were going to have a workshop in a couple of weeks, if I remember correctly. We want to talk about anything zoning or whatever. We do have a ZBA case that's come forward, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what the outcome is. But one of the things they're asking for, well, multiple one, is basically to allow a few single-family homes in the which is actually the town center district, but kind of throws the whole town center zoning right out the roof, so to speak. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. If you remember back, the board voted to bring forward an amendment that would allow a mix, would allow some of those lots to go to village districts, so you could have a mix of single family homes and townhouses and whatnot, and it stretches all the way up to Oak Hill. Well, right now it's all zoned town center, and that doesn't allow for single family homes. So unless they're part of a PUD, and the other is the residential has to be on the second floor. So that zone needs to be addressed again. And the board probably needs to start thinking about that.
Let me ask a question. If we say it needs to be addressed again, I guess why does it need to be addressed again? Are we unsatisfied with what's there? Well,
the problem is when you have it, the area, the that's way over by Oak Hill, zoned as town center, you either have to have a planned unit development or or any kind of residential development has to be on the second floor. Now, if you've looked at Oak Hill, I mean, the practicality of it is very
Right.
difficult.
Yeah,
So,
I agree, but my understanding, recollection of the time was we did that because that's what we wanted to extend town center to that point, and the
No,
only
no.
way to manipulate that was to change the zoning so that it would be planned unit developments or commercial on the first floor. So we
Well,
could extend.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Originally, but when you guys made the amendment, that was to actually crank back the town center because the development, that type of development was very difficult to put in some areas like where Oak Hill was or on these very large lots. What's coming before the ZBA, so it's a ZBA decision that they're looking at, is basically to grant a variance to allow these folks not to have to follow the town center zoning, but instead they're requesting to be able to do 3 single family homes on basically, I want to say almost 30 acres, which is completely contradictory to what
Right.
the town center
That was
is.
right. That was my point. I think we looked at the land profile there and said, we got a giant piece of land. We want this developed into another mass housing cluster with the potential for business. So let's change this so the developer is forced to do it the way we want, as opposed to just putting in 6-8 houses over time. If that's not the desired outcome anymore, then, I guess it's not,
I'll be honest. I mean, you folks have heard my take on it. When I look at the way the zoning is set up for our area, I think it's in some ways it's kind of botched because our more rural areas should have larger lot sizes. And then if we're going to condense it into the small areas, then we should have a very defined corridor of what it looks like for a downtown area. And that downtown area, because of the way it's configured, is massive and obscure.
I agree, Andy. That's a huge chunk of land to zone town center, what we have right now. Huge chunk of land. And the topography is extremely challenging. So,
Yeah,
but there's no other land. There's no land, despite that, in that vicinity to create development to cause a town center.
Well,
right. I mean, not really. It should have been where those 80 units went. There should have been commercial on the first floor, and apartments upstairs to make that more of a downtown-y incorporation. But
we may still have some. Actually, we have a project in the development stage that Chris Berry's working on that is going to actually, from what we've gotten some dribs and drabs of, they're supposed to be developing it towards our zoning ordinance in the town center. So we'll see but they're working on it now, and that has to do with the piece out by Christmas Dove, out behind Christmas Dove. So they're working on what would have a combination of commercial, residential on the second floor, and I believe single family homes. So that would be fitting with the zoning ordinance for that area. The other area we still don't know that the owners is the one out behind Caliph's, where they're still holding on to their 12 acres because the ideal project hasn't come along yet. That's a developable piece because it's very level. So we'll see what they're working on. But I just need to think about it, talk about it, kind of, don't make any specific decisions. I'm not telling anyone to make a decision, but it's time to start looking at what the land is in quadrants, so to speak, and what the topography is, what the limitations are, and just give it some more thought, I think.
Andy?
Yep. So what I was going to say on that is I understand the general premise behind why the zoning was set up with the town town side of it, and then town center zoning and everything. But this is why I say if you structure it with larger external lots and smaller internal lots, once you reach a point of saturation where businesses can be sustained in that area, then you will actually see development that drives that sort of behavior. And what ultimately what'll happen is some of the structures that may exist currently in the town center will come down and get developed to meet the needs that we're talking about as desired needs. And you may see multiple properties get combined together only to be redeveloped into the needs or the items that we talk about as a town center. And that's where having a good architectural, what's the right word for it? Architectural standards to keep that rural character look of an old school town center in place. That's how you get what you're trying to accomplish. But until you actually address the idea of people being able to come in and make all these subdivisions where there's large tracts of land, it takes longer to get to that point. You've got to deal with those issues first. And that solves things like Steve wants, like what Steve would talk about, where you have larger tracts of land, which encourage people to do home farming and have more land so that we don't have all the squealing over noise related to gun shooting and stuff like that, because everybody has a more spacious tract of land to do what really is Barrington's character of a rural neighborhood.
Well, to speak for myself,
Well,
if I might,
Steve.
Jamie.
Well, anyways, this is for.
Hold on, Martin.
Save it for the workshop. I agree.
Just briefly to speak for myself, I mean, yes, those have been some things I've raised. In general, my first concern around commercial development in the town center area is around the other agenda item we have to think about that Jeff suggested in a recent meeting was coming up with some sort of coherent position, way of applying what is scattered and premature and what isn't, what is the future of traffic there and how we can manage it. I mean, personally, I would rather see single family homes going in some places that are considered town center and encouraging more commercial development along Route 9 to make Barrington a bit more of a destination as opposed to a pit stop on the highway.
Yep. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, this is kind of a little bit tangential, but during that discussion about, potential changes to regulations, I would like to add the item of the parking standards, table 6. As you know, I think the residential is too low. It says 1 space per dwelling. I think it should be 2. So I would like to have that discussion as well.
We were going to have the lawyer come in. Was that at the next meeting to talk to us about this premature, how we implement that?
I didn't set up anything for that, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's a spot in Barrington right now other than Berry River Road where you could say it's scattered and premature. I think and no offense, Steve, but when we've got all those state roads and the state, basically dictating what needs to be done, and the traffic that we have, which is not horrible. I mean, I'm more than willing to have the attorney to come in and talk, but I was not aware that we wanted to schedule that. So if you want me to schedule that, I'll have to get a hold of her and set up a specific time for that specific day. Do you want me to try and get it for this next meeting? I haven't talked to her for a few weeks, so I can email her in the morning and see if that's something she could do. I mean, it's Zoom.
Yeah, see what you can do. Right. I would like to, I think I would like to know what, the cohesive questions we're gonna ask her specifically, as opposed to just a roundtable with her,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if she's open for that as well, but I think we should have some decent questions for her to address and give her some time to have some feedback. I think it'd be more productive for her time and ours if it's on the town's dime.
I would agree, and I would say maybe that's what we need to do at the next meeting is maybe we can talk about this and what questions we want to answer. I just want to remind people that we do have one application. The town is asking for an extension of their application for the town hall.
Oh, at the next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully that won't take you very long.
so we'll talk about zoning, scatter premature questions at the next meeting, parking, and any other zoning issues that we want to discuss. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Hearing no other questions or comments, a motion to adjourn. I will make a motion to adjourn until February 16th.
I second.
Motion by James Jennison, second by Andy Knapp, Donna Masucci,
Masucci, aye.
Ron Allard,
Allard, aye.
Steve Diamond,
Diamond Eye.
Jeff Brand,
Brand, aye.
Andy Knapp,
Aye.
James Jennison, aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all so much. Be safe.
Stay
See you in a
safe.
couple weeks.
Everyone.
Good night.
Good night.